1995 IMSA Street Stock Championship is winding down. Today, they'll fight on the streets of New Orleans in the shadows of the Superdome. And pole winner Ron Nelson knows that starting up front is the key.
And in a lot of cases, no, but at this track, it doesn't hurt because it's so tight and it is hard to pass. So at this track, it's good. And my co-driver, Lance Stewart, he put it up here. I wasn't able to be here yesterday to get some track time, so I haven't been in until this morning. So it should be good.
The IMSA Street Stock Championship from New Orleans next. We're set to bring you coverage of one of the last rounds of the IMSA series for the Street Stock Endurance Championship in 1995. And a beautiful day for racing here in the streets of New Orleans, Elliot.
It is. It's actually perfect weather. Going into the night, it's going to be very nice, and I think they're going to have a great race.
Here's a look at the GS points. Of course, there are 4 different classes in the IMSA Street Stock Endurance Championship. The GS class is for all of the really big cars. The S class is probably the most hotly contested division, as you can see from point standings.
And they run very close on the track because the cars are so competitive against each other. I think that just Peter Cunningham and Forrest Randall have just done a great job this year.
We will also have a look for the T and the C divisions. We'll bring you up to speed on what's going on with all those classes as we get a little deeper into it. Here's a look at the front row. Ron Nelson and Catherine Teasdale, who got her first win up at Watkins Glen earlier this year. Row 2, you see Joe Carty in that row. Elliot, all of these drivers have been to different venues across the country this year. We've run on permanent road courses such as Watkins Glen and Sears Point. We've done the airport circuit at Sebring. We've even run some modified oval road courses like PIR and Texas World. How difficult will it be for them to adjust now to the street circuit?
Well, actually, I think this is going to be the toughest track they've run, and the fact that this track is very rough, very, very hard on brakes. I was out practicing about an hour before the start of this race, and I'll tell you, the brakes are going away in about 4 or 5 laps on the Supra car. I think they're going to have to be very careful to keep brakes on. And the other thing is then coming up on slower cars, very difficult to pass on this track. It's very tight corners, and there's sections where you cannot go 2 abreast. You have to go single file, even with a slower car. So it's going to be a very tough track, and I think attrition is going to be very high here.
You're going to have to be very patient and wait and pick your point and pass. And you're also going to have to realize that even if your brakes are working, maybe the guy behind you is having problems with his.
Boy, and that is the truth. That's happened at a lot of street tracks. But this place here, it's one of those places where it's going to be very hard at the beginning of the race not to race when you know you're going to have to.
Coming up the front straightaway, here's the green flag, and we're set to go from New Orleans.
Yeah, Farrell got a great start from the second row coming up. That's not a very long straightaway. It is those chicanes, which is very hard to go 2 abreast in.
Well, he obviously had the turbos spooled up and ready to go in the little Mustang 7. It's Peter Farrell, who took a wild ride earlier this year at Road Atlanta, tumbling down the hill. He's now up in front and leading Catherine Teasdale as we go on board with her.
And Ron Nelson got back to 3rd place now. But, you can't tell who's running a tactical race now and who's really running to run hard. Because I was out there, I think I'd run easy. And actually, I think I'd run easy and hope for a yellow. Because the fact is that if you run hard, you're going to use everything up.
And it looked like the fuel filler door was open on the 3rd place Mustang 7, which was the pole winner, Ron Nelson.
But Farrell was really setting a pretty fast pace here. He pulled out quite a lead in one lap. Peter said he was going to run a little bit easy here and take care of stuff, and looks like he decided to get a little lead, maybe get a cushion now.
You can see how much traffic there was at the top of the screen. You saw the cars in the tail end of the pack still working their way around through the back section. as our leaders were coming at you, and you can see how they were all bunched up. It's going to take them a while to really funnel everybody through some of these turns until the field really spreads out.
And it won't spread out, it'll go single file, because that's the way this track, even running close cars like these cars are, you end up running single file. It's very difficult to pass, because everybody has very equal cars here, and the braking sections are short, so it doesn't leave you a lot of time to get up there. And coming off corners, it's hard to get a shot because they're such slow corners. Now, the corner they're just coming through here does have a fast Supra onto it, and that is one of the places you can pass quite easily.
51 cars out on the racetrack at this point in time. On a tight, twisty street circuit like this, that'll make a lot of work for our leaders when they catch up to the back markers in a couple laps.
Shortly, it will start to get crowded out there. But the leaders have spread out some at this time.
How much of an advantage is it going to be for the drivers in the bigger cars, such as the Pontiac Firebird Formula of Catherine Teasdale and Joe Barty, for example? That car sits up a little bit higher. And on a street circuit, as you can see from inside Catherine or Joe Barty's car, it's difficult to see around some of the turns. And the Mazda RX-7, such as Peter Farrell and Ron Nelson, sit so much lower to the ground.
I don't think it's going to be a big factor, Ralph. I think that maybe you can see a little bit further around corners, but not much. This corner here, for example, even though it's a very fast corner, is quite blind, as you can see out the window here, until you get all the way around it. And I don't think that's going to be a big factor, because the fence is still above that in a lot of places where you can't see through the fence.
We were talking about the brakes earlier on. They're limited in what they can do to help cool those brakes as well, because you've got to run basically how the brakes come in the car.
Stock components, that is correct. And the turbos will be a little harder to drive because of the actual turbo.
We're just underway in New Orleans. Stay with us. Plenty more coming up on Raw.
At Chevrolet, we're not just out here winning. We're testing suspensions, developing more powerful engines, and learning more about aerodynamics. Because if you want to bring more race-winning technology to the street than any other car company, sometimes you have to work weekends. That's genuine Chevrolet.
No matter what you drive, we've got you covered from H to Z.
The competitive environment of high-performance racing demands reliability. That's why the International Motorsports Association asked Exxon to formulate their official racing fuel. They knew that Exxon would create a high-performance fuel that exceeds the demands of grueling race conditions. And that same reliable performance can be found every time you fill up with Exxon 93 Supreme. Exxon, rely on the Tiger.
Over the years, I've seen a lot of winners on the track, Walter, Petty, and Wallace. I know that to be a winner, you need top performance, and that's why I recommend Engine Restorer and Lubricant. Designed for older, high-mileage cars and trucks, its unique formula reduces oil burning and increases compression and horsepower to renew your engine and improve performance to near original levels. Take it from an old pro. For renewed engine performance, go with a winner, Engine Restorer.
Today's IMSA coverage is brought to you by Genuine Chevrolet. An automotive company has won more races over the last 30 years than anyone else. Genuine Chevrolet. We're back to the streets of New Orleans as Prime Racing brings you more coverage of the 1995 IMSA Street Stock Endurance Championship. We're back on board.
These are great in-car shots, too, from Cat Teasdale's car. You can really see a lot from this shot. I think it's one of the better shots we've had. You can see how tight these corners are and how the walls come up on you very quickly here. And you can see trying to make a pass up there on a slower car, and it's very difficult to do.
Look at rush hour traffic as Farrell gets squeezed off. He tried to cut back inside, and Cat Teasdale sneaks inside and makes a great move.
Yeah, Farrell was just held up by a slower car and having a hard time getting by, and this is going to be very tough now. The other thing it's going to do is it's going to use up a lot of brakes, and you can see not much room there, but Cat Teasdale is going through, and Farrell left her a little room to come through there.
Boy, she squeezed that big Firebird through a pretty small hole, didn't she?
Sure did.
And obviously her brakes are working real well still at this point in the race.
They are, but you got to be careful. It's very difficult to keep yourself running slow enough to save everything when you get on a street circuit like this, and especially when the car is running very well.
And when you get in the heat of battle like that and you get to racing with another car, of course, it's difficult to do. Here's a look from Kat's car as she goes past Farrell.
Close, tight traffic. Farrell gets through there, and that's a tough spot too. As you can see, there's not much room, and you cannot go through two cars at a time. But they're going to have a lot of traffic to go through now because there is a lot of cars, as you mentioned before, Ralph, out on the track. They've got kind of a clean area to run in right now, but they're going to come back up on it again. And the cars they're coming up on, Farrell's going to make a move down the straight here, and he's got her. Looks like
you talked about how difficult it is to spool up that turbo and get the power to work. You really have to get on the gas early to get it at the right point to really kick in all the horsepower. He played that one just perfect.
Right, and that is the best place for the turbo because the fact is the turn coming on that straight is the only really high-speed corner on the whole racetrack where the turbo can get up its boost early and come through there a little bit better than it would off some of the slow corners.
So Cat Teasdale's going to have to go back to work now. All that time she had to spend setting him up, waiting for the right time, and then she saw this coming by her on the inside.
That Farrell's whose car seems to be working very well at this time. And I guess he's not too worried about the brakes. He just wants to lead this race and get out and hold some distance again. It didn't work before, but maybe he can do it now.
Going through some of the different classes now.
And Barty is closed right up on Cat Teasdale. He's just a car length behind her now. Traffic is really starting to play, and Ron Nelson's right there too. So we got the second, third, and fourth place cars sitting right together in this traffic.
Of course, Catherine Teasdale, the big winner up at Watkins Glen earlier this year, making her the first woman in IMSA history to win a major combined division in IMSA racing. We had a lot of questions about that because Patty Moise, you and I remember having won in the Kelly American Challenge Series years back. Of course, this was a multi-class division. Whoa! Oh. There's some dicing going on back there.
A little change to get to the inside there. Didn't want the outside. And, you know, the thing is that this street stock class, you look at these street stock cars going around, but, you know, there's some excellent drivers in this race. I mean, Joe Vardy, Andy Pilgrim, Ron Nelson, Lance Stewart. I mean, you can keep going back. Peter Farrell. There is a lot of excellent drivers who've driven a lot of other classes, won championships, and are driving in these cars because it's a very competitive series they can go out. So, oh, Ron Nelson stopped.
Problems for our pole winner. Maybe electrical problems we're hearing. So apparently, Mazda RX-7 of Ron Nelson having big problems. Reports coming in that it could be with the electrical system of the car.
Well, that's too bad. They ran really well at Phoenix and qualified well here and looked like they had a shot at it. I hate to see him drop out. Oops, a little getting together there.
But the Dodge Neons and a BMW.
Yeah.
Obviously, huge differences in what it will cost to fix those two cars,
Yeah.
huh? Nelson's still trying to get going.
Looks like he's just stuck there.
And now we're getting reports that the caution flags are coming out.
I guess they're going to tow him back in.
Good news for Ron Nelson. He'll get back to the pits. We'll step out, take a break as well. We'll be back with more on Pride, New Orleans.
You will receive cash. Yes, cash for Rolex, cash for Patek Philippe, cash for Cartier. Heritage Estate buyers will pay you cash for these men's wristwatches or the others I will list. Heritage is on a national search for watches. We will help you with cash if you own a Vacheron, Universal Geneve, Breitling, also Audemars, Movado, and the Cultra. Your watch can be worth thousands of dollars if it's a chronograph, moon phase, or repeater. This is an opportunity for you to receive cash for a watch that's gathering dust in a drawer. Heritage Estate buyers will pay you cash for the fine men's wristwatches we listed, working or not. If you don't call now, you're losing money. Write down our number. We're ready to pay top dollars now. Time means money. Call Heritage now.
Call 1-800-352-2121 to learn how to receive cash for your vintage watch. Time means money. Call toll-free 1-800-352-2121. Call now.
Warriors of the Ice. Every week, a new battle, a new enemy. Defending their goal and fighting to be national champions. Lowell at Boston College, Friday on this regional sports network.
Welcome back to the streets of New Orleans. Ralph Shaheen and Elliot Forbes Robinson with you. This is round number 7 of the IMSA Street Stock Endurance Championship for 1995. And our leader, Peter Farrell, is in the pits. The IMSA officials talking to him. Taking on fuel only, it looks like, Elliot. That moves Cat Teasdale back up into the front spot now.
Right, with the fuel going in so slowly in this car, it's usually a long stop. I guess he figured that the caution would be a good time, but it seems that once it goes green, that isn't as good as getting back at the end of the field.
Well, and they use a regular refueling system just like you would find at your local gas station. It's not one of the gravity fueling systems that you'd see in, IndyCar racing, for example, or the big cans like you'd see in a NASCAR event. This is your basic pull-up. The guy comes out. Would you like your windshield clip while I'm at it?
Yeah, and it is a slow-running nozzle, just like you have in the gas station. And it isn't that big opening to just flow a lot of fuel. It looks like Cat Teasdale's under a little pressure from Joe Vardy now.
Not a guy you want to have tailing you with the heat on. Joe Vardy, one of the toughest in this business.
Oh, here comes
Peter Farrell back in the pits again. A stop-and-go penalty for passing under the yellow. Let's see, we've got it on tape. Here's a look at it.
Farrell going around. Oh, he's passing.
Well, the car's
That's
even.
interesting. I wonder what is it? You can't see from where we're looking at the yellow flag out.
Looked like the other driver was even flagging him to let him know that the yellow was out and he shouldn't even be doing that. Peter apparently was already committed to it. So, a costly stop for Peter Farrell helps out Joe Vardy, who's chasing Cat Teasdale.
Well, it sure leaves the Pontiacs in good shape now because the two front-running Mazdas, one had to make an extra stop and the other one had electrical problems, so it leaves these guys alone right now. The teammates running fast.
Of course, this is a timed event, and the one thing that did do for these two, as it stacked the field back up, it now allows them to break away, and for the next few laps, they'll have clean running racetrack, which is good. They'll get clean, cool air into the car and be able to keep those brakes cool, and for the next few minutes at least, they'll be able to run without excessive use and abuse to the car.
That is true, and you won't have to use the car, as you point out, Ralph, it's as hard as you would under normal circumstances, because when you're not going in and trying to outbrake people, it's a lot easier on the brakes.
Bill Alverland has the Honda up front in the C class, which is the compact division. Looks like he had a bit of a push there. Looks like he turned the wheels and just...
Yeah, you can see kind of the bumps on the track, too, as he came through there, and the car is trying to settle on the bumps. He's doing very well. The guy who's running so well in the GTS2 class and sitting here in his Honda running very fast also.
As far as street circuits go, how does this one stack up as far as the quality of the surface?
Well, this one is actually very bumpy. The World Sports cars are here this weekend, and they're breaking a lot of axles because of the roughness coming off the corners. And this one is very tight, probably tighter than a lot of others. But, you know, it's also a beautiful place to be. And I think that it's enjoyable to drive in some ways. It's a very tough track on cars.
You can see Bill Alverland's car has been beaten and battered a little bit as well. He's had a tough day of getting up to the front, but he's up there now. You see the damage to the bodywork on the front end of the car.
Yeah, and then he just missed being real lucky. We saw him start right behind the leaders here. If they hadn't have lapped him, he would have had a lap on the C cars. Now he's still got a race for it. that lapping at street tracks makes it very tough, because you can be a second place car and be put a lap down by the leaders going by you just before you have a caution. I hate that.
No surprise that Oberlin is having a pretty easy time of it up front. He's driving a Honda, and Honda is currently leading the manufacturer's points in 3 out of 4 street stock classes. They have this series. We'll be back.
Sunday after Sunday, we believe in putting on our best. Maybe that's why no car company has won more races in the history of NASCAR than Chevrolet.
No matter what you drive, we've got you covered from H to Z.
The holidays are approaching, and Prime has some early presents to unwrap this December. The good tidings of college football include the NCAA Division I AA semifinals. College hoops light up the season as the women's game of the week and men's ECAC holiday festival stuff your stockings. Short on tree decorations? Let us put the final touches with the NCAA Soccer Championship. So count down your shopping days and be merry in December on Prime.
There's a look at Peter Farrell, who's trying to work his way back through the field after making a pit stop and then getting a stop-and-go penalty. Peter is in 17th and working his way up feverishly through the pack.
He's going to have to work hard to get there. You know, Ralph, it's quite interesting to me that there hasn't been very many accidents here. I thought with this many cars out there, somebody'd be in the wall before long, and it's been really trouble-free so far.
Everybody, I think, Elliott, realized the same thing as you, that this was going to be a very demanding race, and I think everybody seems to have calmed their nerves down quickly. As we take a look at the S-Class battle, there's David Lampum and Hugh Johnson, and Johnson now tries to get to the outside. Let's see if he can pull out the turn here, make the pass. Oh boy, nice move to the outside, and he's going to get it.
Using traffic to his advantage there, isn't he? Now he's stuck on the outside of the car. Good move, though.
So that is what's going on in the S-Class as Johnson's out in front. That is the sports division. There's a GS class, a Grand Sports, the sports class, the touring class, and of course the smaller compact division.
I thought Lapp was having a little trouble there. He was out in the marble just a little entering that corner.
Johnson's starting to pull away a little bit now.
You know, the other thing is that when these guys stop for in the pits, those hot brakes and hot parts will sit there and soak. And when you go out, that's a chance of getting an accident because the things won't be working right for the driver who's just getting in the car. Boy, what traffic, though. Incredible.
Hey, look at the wide variety of cars. We got Porsches in there. We've got Hondas, Firebirds, Mazdas, Saturns, and Neons on this racetrack. A wide variety of machinery. And all of them could put on a license plate and drive home after this event as we go back up front with our leader, Catherine Teasdale.
Looks like she's pulled away from Joe Vardy at the moment. Yeah, got a good lead. Running an excellent race through traffic.
Looking back through, there's Marty Miller. Now, Marty started 5th, and he's fallen way back.
Second place isn't even in view when she comes through the corner here. She's setting a torrid pace.
2 hours are left to go as you take a look at the top 5. Steve McNeely and John Cole are rounding out the top 5. Catherine Teasdale and Joe Barty continue to have at it. And here comes Barty back at it. And he's going to take the position away from Catherine Teasdale and take over the lead. Look at it again, and it looks like he just gets a good drive up the turn.
That's what it looks like. He just came off that corner very well. I wonder if Catherine's just starting to slow down at this time, if she's having some sort of problem. Or whether Joe's decided just to pick it up and go ahead and go. But he's running well. Joe is, you know, a little conservative at the start of races usually because he wants to make that thing last for the end. Give Andy a good car to finish off with.
Boy, look at Joe's even giving directions out the side window.
Well, it was dark in the shadows back in there, wasn't it?
Well, it is starting to get into the later afternoon portions here in New Orleans. And Joe, of course, putting the headlights on to let everybody know the leader is coming through.
Good job. Tight. And it is hard to stick your nose in between people. And everybody has to work together on these tracks because the fact is it's so hard to go. If you run side by side through the corners, it slows both guys down so much. It's better that the slow cars just let you have that little bit of room and follow you through. It's faster for both people. And they're doing a good job of that.
It's amazing to me how Joe handles that big Pontiac as if it was one of the smaller Miatas. Just putting that massive, whoa, you were talking earlier about not having accidents. Well, Chuck Cottrell has made up for it.
Boy, he looks like he went in hard. The front's torn up, the back's torn up. He got all the... Now he's even got the mirror torn off the car. He has hit everything on that thing.
He had time to get the hazard lights on.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll be going caution now because there's hardly any place to get off the track at this point.
And problems here as well for Ron Nelson. Things started off great, starting up on the pole. Then he had electrical problems. And now he's got real big problems. And here's how.
Coming inside there, he did not have the line. It was a little bit too fast to make the corner because that inside line is so tough to take.
Well, he obviously wasn't too happy about what happened there either. Apparently, he felt like he got squeezed a little bit. Yellow flags are out as we've got more than one car into the wall. There's Chuck Cottrell. He's apparently okay. We'll clean things up here in the streets of New Orleans and get back to racing when we return.
Just a reminder, when you need them, we got them. Big A, America's Parts Pros.
Prime, serving America's great sports networks.
We're still under yellow here in the streets of New Orleans as Prime Racing continues its coverage of the 1995 IMSA Street Stock Endurance Championship. That's Chuck Cottrell's car, BMW, and he tore it both ends up. Chuck is out of the car and okay.
Well, it looks like it's going to take some towing to get that out. It looks like the body works into the fender and everything up there. Well, now the guys have got a chance to make pit stops, Ralph, or they're going to have to worry that the car is not going to be the same when they get going after it cools down. Sometimes it'll be better, and sometimes it's not.
Certainly hard to find that rhythm again. There's the IMSA Rapid Response Team.
And go out and check. Looks like we don't see Chuck there, but been told he's okay, so.
Chuck is apparently out of the car already, so they're going to jump over the wall and check on Chuck.
Well, everybody gets a little rest here. It's a very busy racetrack, and it is hard on you for a lot of reasons. Oh, looks like Barty's going in the pits right there. This is the pit entrance right straight ahead.
There's Catherine Teasdale coming your way, and she's not.
She went straight in, stayed on the track.
And they're going to have a driver change here.
And the good part in these cars, when we talked about the slow fueling, is the fact is you got lots of time for a driver change. Andy's going to have to move the seat back a little bit when he gets in here.
Andy Pilgrim, Joe Vardy's teammate. That's the scary thing about this crew. Just when you think you're glad to see Joe Vardy get out of the car, guess what? Andy Pilgrim, another one of the best drivers in this form of racing, gets back in.
You can see they're still stock style wheels that they have to do, so it's a little longer to do than it would be on a WSC or a GTS1 car. And Andy Pilgrim has run very well this year and everything. He's run the Supra car and run well. He's run GTS2 and run well, and leading this championship. He's had a pretty good year.
Rocking the car a little bit, make sure they get all the fuel in there they need to get to the finish.
They have the car jacked up on the left side, everything. Get as much gas as they can in that rascal. Up, and a red light.
And now Catherine Teasdale comes in.
And this pit exit here is a tough exit, too, as you go out. You cannot see the cars as you're going on the track coming out of the pits.
Driver change here as well.
Yeah, it looks like Doug Goat is going in.
They'll take a quick look at the brakes.
Oh, they're changing paths.
Change, yeah.
Well, I'll be a son of a gun. You know what? They got a quick release on that. That changed the whole caliper on that car, not just the brake pads, and have a quick release on the brake system so that they can plug it back in.
Catherine, you heard her talking to Doug Goad, letting him know how the car's been handling, if it has a problem maybe with a handling situation, either a push or if it's too tight, too loose.
They're trying to pump the brakes back up again. Make sure he's got a pedal before he leaves. You can hear the crew yelling at him.
Catherine's job complete. Fueling team just about done. And Doug Goad's about set to go. Well, our crew down in the pits caught up with Catherine Teasdale. Find out how her stint went.
We kind of were really battling for the lead. I mean, we would love the wheel-to-wheel Pontiac to be 1-2. But what we're really trying to do out here there is to conserve the cars because it's a little bit warm on the track tonight, even though nightfall's setting in, it's a little bit hot. So we're giving each other the lead to kind of cool each other's cars down. It's working okay, but the one Achilles heel that we thought we would have would be brakes, and it looks like that might be the story. So we're kind of keeping our fingers and toes crossed. Yellows don't always come when there's a good time for them, and I guess there's really no great time for yellow, but this has been really, really fortunate for us to have a yellow right now so that we can assess the situation. If we need to do a brake change, we can do it now, and hopefully Doug can run to the end.
I think taking advantage of that lengthy yellow to replace the barriers here from Ron Nelson's incident. Here's a look at what happened to Ron.
Ron gets down to the corner. He's pretty deep. I don't think that Mustang saw him until last minute, and Ron's trying to get by him, and oops, a little bit too deep into the corner.
Do you think maybe Ron took his eyes off the racetrack and onto the Mustang, was watching the Mustang, and then by the time he looked back to the racetrack, he was out of room?
He could have. I think, you know, he was sitting there and worried. Well, it looks like they got a brake problem on the car that was leading here. Doug Goat. Oh, it didn't pump up. They're pumping the brakes. Bleeding them. I guess that caliper change didn't work exactly like they wanted it to.
Well, but I was going to say, just before we went back and looked at the Ron Nelson incident, that at least they have a lengthy enough yellow they can get this in. But now they're losing lots of time.
Yeah, that's not good now. It's be hard, but fortunately they're still under yellow, so they can spend quite a bit of time doing this, and still not, well, it looks like they might lose a lap. It looks like the cars are coming by now. Oh, that's a shame. They were running so well. Well, I hope they got it fixed. Having brake problems in a place like this would be real tough.
I don't know why they're waiting, and neither does the crew, apparently.
Oh, I think, you know, what they've got is the red light at the end of the pit, so that they can't go out at the moment anyway.
Well, track conditions have been tricky, to say the least, here. Terry Earwood's had his struggles with it.
The change in track condition, however, when the sun was setting in turn 3, you could not see anything. I asked for a sun visor back in the car next time, and that's where that BMW hit the wall down there. I'm sure it was the sunset, because it was a beautiful sunset, but you couldn't see the racetrack for a minute.
Of course, that was Chuck Cottrell that Terry was talking about. Chuck's out of the car, okay? The lights are on. We'll be back. More racing with the street
racing demands reliability. That's why the International Motorsports Association asked Exxon to formulate their official racing fuel. They knew that Exxon would create a high-performance fuel that exceeds the demands of grueling race conditions. And that same reliable performance can be found every time you fill up with Exxon 93 Supreme. Exxon, rely on the Tiger.
Tending your land, getting your hands back in the soil, working with the sun on your back. Could anything be more rewarding? Yeah, paying someone else to do it for you. Like Ned, Joe, and Tom. That's what Visa Gold's for, with enough purchase power to turn your yard green. And what could be more relaxing than mowing it yourself? Paying Al. Visa Gold, it's everywhere you want to be.
On Track Magazine. Whether it's Formula One or the Indy 500, On Track gives you the latest and most complete coverage. Each issue puts you on the lead lap with great photography, detailed race coverage, plus insightful commentary and analysis.
If you want to keep up with auto racing from around the world, read On Track. I do.
Call now to put the world of racing at your fingertips with On Track Magazine, the auto racing magazine of record.
RT Eastman Productions presents a special limited video offer. Witness the largest collection of live trophy mule deer ever filmed. Unbelievable close photography that shows you the struggle for dominance between huge trophy mule deer. Call now toll free to receive Extreme Bucks Part 1 for $9.99, a 50% savings. Or order both Extreme Bucks 1 and Extreme Bucks Part 2 for $29.98. Call now, 1-800-251-BUCK.
We're back to racing through the streets of New Orleans, and in the darkness, it makes it a little difficult for us to tell who's who, like the leader, Andy Pilgrim. But for the drivers, Elliot, this is probably an advantage.
Oh, it is, because when the sun is going down here, we had a practice in the sun here going down yesterday, and as you're practicing, the shadows from the building and driving into the sun, you could not see the corner until you got into the shadow at some time, so you'd end up braking early so you can see. So I can understand what Terry Irwood was talking about before.
Chris Wilson in the S-Class running in second place.
That's pretty incredible. He's running up that high in this race. But that's what we talked about before, is that lightweight car that is got the good brakes, and acceleration isn't quite as important here as it is at some of the other tracks they've been to. And it's really showing up, because you can see Andy isn't even pulling him away from him very fast with that little Honda against that Pontiac.
We saw that it was a huge advantage in the opening round of the season at Sebring. And driving rain, the front-wheel drive cars had great traction, the smaller front-wheel drive cars, and looked like they stood a real good chance of winning that event overall.
Oh yeah, we came down to the last lap and they were still right there in contention. But then they got to the long straight and a little bit of a dry track, and it helped the other cars out, the big cars. But Andy's probably just pacing it right now. He doesn't want to pull away too fast. He just wants to stay ahead, because that's what's going to win the race for him and keep the car under him.
And there is no extra lighting brought out onto this racetrack. What these drivers are dealing with condition-wise is exactly what you would have on any other night if you were driving through the streets of New Orleans. Regular street lights, of course, good old-fashioned mood lights.
Yeah. And everybody going the same way, at least. That's a advantage here. But it is tough to see, and on street tracks, your headlights are shining at a wall in front of you. You can't actually see around the wall. At a normal racetrack, what you'll do is point headlights out to the side up front as well as the ones ahead, so that it'll pick up the apex and the exit of the corner. But here, lights, of course, can't shine through the corner, so you have to rely on just straight ahead headlights.
C-Class leader, Chris Gavin. He's had a real good season.
He has.
This team has been in the thick of things all year long, week in and week out, and of course, he's driving a Honda, as is John Green, who is currently leading the T-Class. And earlier I talked about how Honda's leading 3 of the 4 different divisions. They have the points lead in the manufacturer class in both sports, touring, and the compact classes. The Honda Prelude VTEC is right now leading the Car of the Year points. The Honda Prelude SI is tied for second with the Pontiac Firebird. The other Honda that's real strong in this form of racing is, of course, the Honda Accord EX, which we're seeing up front here today.
And that running second overall, the VTEC is not doing too bad today either. This is tough for everybody at night. Headlights in your window, in your mirrors, and not being able to see very far ahead, not having the vision out in the front. It's tougher than you might think it's going to be to drive a little street track like this. Fortunately, here you don't have long straights where headlights are in you for a long time, but they're constantly flashing across your rear window.
This is a 3-hour race. It is a timed event, and we are inside the final 40 minutes of this event as we continue to wind this one down. This racetrack is made up of streets that interlock around the New Orleans Superdome. When we come back, we'll see if Andy Pilgrim can hang on.
The class of college football is a fall treat for fans everywhere. This video extravaganza features spectacular individuals from the game's past and present. A collection of college football's all-time greats, the class of college football showcases some of the most memorable names and classic performances. It rekindles the infectious spirit. It pays tribute to the determination and unstoppable drive displayed by a group of athletes who carried this tradition-rich game to heights of unparalleled glory. Great players, unforgettable performances, and fantastic finishes are all part of the class of college football. Available for the first time in this special TV offer. It's not available in any store. Order now.
To order your copy of the Class of College Football, call 1-800-352-2121. Have your credit card ready, or send check or money order to the address on your screen, or call 1-800-352-2121. Call now.
Poise. Power. The search is on for world-class bowling. It's as simple as the ABC World Team Bowling Challenge, with a new stop every week on this regional sports network.
Welcome back to the streets of New Orleans. Ralph Shaheen and Elliott Forbes Robinson with you. We continue to wind down round number 7 of the IMSA Street Stock Endurance Championship. We're inside the final 30 minutes. You see Andy Pilgrim out front. He is our overall leader and the leader in the Grand Sports class. One of the cars chasing him, the T-class leader, really having a tremendous day.
Oh, they are. Sherry Irwood and John Green. They have a 2-lap lead on the second-place car in their class. And in those cars, they're so equal. That's incredible that he's got that much lead. Got a look at a wounded car coming up on right now, and it looks like Chris Wilson's sitting there in that S car, staying right on Andy Pilgrim. Pilgrim isn't pulling away at all.
Slower car waving everybody over. Number 37, Firebird, having its difficulties out here today.
But you can see the how fast the corners come up at this track. And the thing that's hard to tell by the film is how tight the corners are, because you really have to slow down for these corners. It's just like going up and making a 90-degree corner when you come up on the street, using a couple lanes to do it, but it's just going up and making a right turn or a left turn at an intersection.
Well, the one advantage here for Andy Pilgrim is that Wilson makes a nice block between him and the second-place car of Stu Hainer in the GS class.
Yeah, that's right. And Stu Hainer has run very well. And they won Texas, I remember, and did very well.
It looks like Stu is getting a little bit anxious to get around here. Now he's going to make a move to the inside. And he got it.
Got him. Coming down the inside, just make it. And this is the shot where you get the good run down the straightaway coming onto this long straightaway. And as you said before, we saw an accident there earlier trying to pass somebody, so it's not an easy one. Looks like Doug Goad is out there, but he's got his problems.
Yeah, now he's lost a light. So what looked like a great run early on from that team is quickly going away.
Yeah, they're struggling some now, but looks like Stu Hayner's going to go after him. Now, maybe Andy Pilgrim will have to pick it up a little bit here if Stu's going after him and got a good car.
Well, we saw Joe Vardy do a tremendous job working that big Pontiac through traffic, and now it's Andy Pilgrim's turn. And the good news for Andy Pilgrim is that Joe Vardy leaves you a good car.
Yeah, he does. He takes care of the car, and but you know, when you know you're going to turn the car over to somebody of the quality of Andy Pilgrim too, you can go out there and just run a good, consistent race and run up front, but not use the car too hard, because you know you got somebody who'll jump in the car and go just as fast as you're going the rest of the race.
One of the R7's running without its lights. There's a gap back to second place. There's your leader, and there, nothing beyond it, but the 34 Firebird. Stu Hayner is your second place overall car.
And working his way through traffic and just staying so he can see Andy, but that's about it. But looks like the Honda's dropped back a little bit now into third place, but looks like somebody else has either unlapped themselves from them or something. Another Pontiac got by.
Well, with less than 30 minutes remaining, if Hayner's going to make a run at Andy Pilgrim, he's going to have to do it pretty quick, because if he can't get out front, even with 15 minutes remaining, it'll be difficult for Andy Pilgrim to find time and find the right place to get around him. You really need to be patient.
Well, you do, but the other hand, you have to do two things in second place. One, you want to save your car so that you have something for the end, but secondly, you got to keep enough pressure on the lead car that he's going to be using it, because if he's out front saving the car too, then you're not going to have anything to catch him at the end, because he's going to have what you got.
It's not easy to rattle the cage of Andy Pilgrim.
Not from what I've seen racing against him.
Does he have any weaknesses?
Yeah, but he doesn't like to show them.
He hasn't told you yet what they are.
Now, Andy does a super job, and he thinks about stuff when he drove. He went up and ran Pikes Peak with us this year, and just one of these street stock cars, and did a super job in the car.
One thing we know for sure is that is a very well-prepared car. So as far as a mechanical problem developing, I don't think that's going to be there to help out Stu Hayner. We haven't seen this car get a hiccup at all this year.
No, but you know the funny thing about that is his teammate's car is outward, and they slowed down.
Well, Andy Pilgrim and Stu Hayner waging war through the streets of New Orleans. We'll see what happens. 23 minutes remaining.
Hello again, everybody. This is Fred Edelstein, and if you haven't yet subscribed to my weekly newsletter, Fred Edelstein's Prime News Sport Pro Football Insider, you're missing what you really should know. Find out everything about the NFL that those certain guys don't want you to know by calling toll-free for subscription information 1-800-354-4315. That's 1-800-354-4315. If you love pro football, you'll love it.
Today's instant coverage is brought to you by Genuine Chevrolet. One automotive company has won more races over the last 30 years than anyone else. Genuine Chevrolet. The yellow flag is back out here in New Orleans. We had a car get upside down, and that has changed things dramatically. And everybody scrambles to slow their cars down and find the spots where they're supposed to line up. There's Gary Blackman, who was running second place in the T class at the time of the incident.
Boy, that's an interesting accident, getting upside down there. It's wonder how he did that.
We do have a report from the scene that Gary is okay. And you got to work pretty hard to get a car upside down, don't you?
Yeah, you know, it looks like they're racing on the rest of the racetrack. That's not a full course yellow. Because they're out braking people, and because
you're right. And there's our leader stuck in the middle of it all.
Yeah, they certainly are. They're out there racing for this, and then slowing down for that one section where the car's upside down.
Boy, that really makes things interesting.
Oh yeah, it's it means that you got to race for that section, and it's a traffic jam getting down to single file so that you can get through there and then go race on the rest of the racetrack. And Andy's got a little bit of a lead right now, but I'm sure that he doesn't. You know, the funny thing is he doesn't know because of the nights.
There's the 34
Oh, yeah.
car into the wall nose first at the top of your screen. And that is McNeely. While we were gone, Stu Hayner had dove into the pits, and McNeely got in behind the wheel. And here's a look at what happened.
Looks like he might got some help there. Coming
Sure
down the
did.
inside, and somebody may have touched him in the back. It looked awfully close. This time is tough, too, for our leader, because he doesn't know. Here they come on the last lap, and they're still going down single file. You can't tell if the car is behind you, the one that is the, when you're lapping other cars, if that's the car that's chasing you or whether that's another car there, and you can't take any chances. It's got to be tough, Randy, and especially coming down when you stand single file for that place. If the car that's behind you is the car on the same lap that goes down the inside, you can't tell. This is a tough way to race the last lap.
Andy will be more than happy to end this one.
And that is the second place car, that Porsche right behind him is the car that he's racing for the win in class and overall.
Final lap battle here through the streets of New Orleans. And we've seen lap traffic come into play all day long. Can Andy Pilgrim read it right just one more time?
Look at the flagman over at the right trying to slow everybody down through that section, and these guys are racing for a win. Wow, tough situation. Well, he's got his mirrors full, and everything. Oh, my God.
That's the flagman incident right there. Boy, that was a nerve-wracking moment there.
Oh, man. Having a last lap like that, having to race, and then knowing you're going to come into a section like that, and you could see where the Porsche thought, well, maybe I can do this before this accident.
Here's the checkered flag waving for Andy Pilgrim. He'll take the class win and the win overall here today in round number 7 of the 1995 IMSA Street Stock Championship through the streets of New Orleans.
Great race by Vardy and Pilgrim. Used their head, kept their car for the whole race, and as you saw, we had some trouble in the race today, and they were okay.
Carl Singer did a great job to come home in second in class, second overall. You can bet those guys are happy, and they have earned it here today in one of the toughest races on the tour so far, the 1995 IMSA Street Stock Endurance Championship season. We'll be back to wrap things up right after this.
Sunday after Sunday, we believe in putting on our best. Maybe that's why no car company has won more races in the history of NASCAR than Chevrolet.
The competitive environment of high-performance racing demands reliability. That's why the International Motorsports Association asked Exxon to formulate their official racing fuel. They knew that Exxon would create a high-performance fuel that exceeds the demands of grueling race conditions. And that same reliable performance can be found every time you fill up with Exxon 93 Supreme. Exxon, rely on the Tiger.
No matter what you drive, we've got you covered from H to Z.
Welcome back to New Orleans. Ralph Shaheen and Elliott Forbes Robinson with you. Andy Pilgrim pulling into victory lane. Here's a look at the top 5. Pilgrim and Singer coming in 1 and 2. The happy Andy Pilgrim is in victory lane.
No, I know. That was a tough one. That last 10 minutes, somebody lost their brakes with about 10 minutes to go. Hit down here, knocked the alignment completely out, and we knew the Porsche was catching us, and I knew Hayner was right there. It was unbelievable. And then that car went upside down. I'm going, oh, it must be a full course yellow. No full course yellow. I couldn't believe it. We had to scrap it. Come here, buddy. This guy gave me a car, as usual. Awesome car. Pontiac, unbelievable. Boy, we outbraked the Porsche all the way around that time.
Last 10 minutes. Heck, the last lap was a nail-biter, especially when they came through the incident area where the car was upside down. Here's the victory lane celebrations. The champagne is about to fly in the streets of New Orleans. Bourbon Street will be a wild place here in a little while.
Oh, man, it's a wild place right now.
Yeah. Here's a look at the top 20 results of some of the different divisions. Of course, we had 4 different classes here. It's the back half of the top 10, and Steve McNeely brings that number 34 Pontiac home in 10th. Another car that looked like it stood a real good chance of winning here early on. Round number 7 of the 1995 season is in the books. 2 rounds to go. Doubleheader coming up at Sebring, and they'll wrap up the championship. Point standings locked up this way. Pilgrim and Party. I think Pilgrim will be able to hold them off.
I think he can do that. As long as they stay in the same car, he'll be okay.
Forrest Grantland starting to open things up a little bit over Peter Cunningham. What a battle that has been. Kelly Collins and Brent Martini in there to make things more difficult for Cunningham the last couple of races. Markine and Jason Potter going to battle it out there for third in the C-Class point standings. And in the C-Class, Chris Gathers, we told you it's been a great season for him. He's starting to really pull away a little bit now from Mike Gelati. Well, Elliot, the true street course event of the season turned out to be everything it was billed.
Oh, yeah, it ended up to be a really tough finish, Ralph. And I think that the guys did a good job of driving. We didn't see a lot of accidents today, and I think they're going to look forward to going to Sebring, though, and getting it out where they can drive in the daytime in a nice racetrack.
And no walls.
And no walls.
No walls till you get to Orlando, as a matter of fact, if you've ever seen the street for the airport circuit at Sebring. The Superdome, the shadows no longer to be cast out on the racetrack. Now it's time to celebrate. Andy Pilgrim and Joe Party team up to get the win